WWE has made it official. They have officially announced that Vince McMahon has returned to the company and is now on the WWE Board of Directors, also confirming the return of Michelle Wilson and George Barros to the company. 2 directors have resigned and an all-hands-on-deck meeting is planned for all employees today as this story develops. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well, and this story continues to develop. The biggest story in pro wrestling right now, and that is that Vince McMahon is back in WWE. We've covered the initial progress of his return, it becoming official earlier today with him filing paperwork with the Security Exchange Commission. Now we know WWE has officially released a press release, a statement confirming that the former chairman, the former CEO, is back in the company, is back on the board of directors, confirming other additions to the board of directors and departures from the board of directors as well, including 2 resignations. So if you count it all up, 5 directors have left WWE today to facilitate 3 coming in, including McMahon himself, but now also 2 available seats on the board of directors. This is a massive story. There is an employee meeting today. There is outrage. There is threats of walking out of the company. There is this real Game of Thrones situation unfolding in front of our very eyes, and more details are going to come. We're going to cover all of it as it happens today. So the latest development is that WWE have officially released this press release confirming the return of Vince McMahon to the company. The press release is WWE provides update regarding composition of its board of directors and exploration of strategic alternatives. Now, WWE is providing the following update regarding the composition of its board of directors and exploration of the strategic alternatives. They have released this statement that says, quote, "Today, we announced that the founder of WWE, Vince McMahon, will be returning to the board," said Chairwoman and co-CEO Stephanie McMahon, co-CEO Nick Khan, and Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque. "We also welcome back Michelle Wilson and George Barrios to our board of directors. Together, we look forward to exploring all strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder value." As Vince McMahon stated yesterday, quote, "WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duties, or responsibilities. In connection with the change in composition of board of directors and in cooperation with Vince McMahon as majority shareholder, the company intends to undertake a review of its strategic alternatives, with the goal being to maximize value for all WWE shareholders. There is no assurance that the process will result in a transaction." Essentially, what they're saying there is no assurance that with this exploration of strategic alternatives that it's going to result in a sale of the company. They're exploring the options. As a Manchester United fan, I'm familiar with this process because it's exactly the same kind of terminology that's been recently used by the Glazer family when it comes to Manchester United. It's also the exact same terminology that's been used by FSG when it comes to selling Liverpool Football Club as well. Essentially what it means in sort of business ease is that they're looking at options, they're shopping the business around and hoping they can find a potential suitor. Now, when it becomes interesting for McMahon is a lot of people are assuming that this hostile takeover that he's currently doing or has actually done may result in a sale of the company, but a crux to that sale could be that he ensures that whoever purchases the company from him as the majority shareholder, there is a provision, there is a clause that says, if you purchase the company from me, I will facilitate it, I will allow it, I will approve it as the majority shareholder, but there is one provision that I remain in control of the company under this new umbrella. So again, it could be a power grab by McMahon. Even if the company doesn't get sold, he could then, with this change of composition in the board of directors, he could just vote himself back in to being the CEO, the chairman, and the head of creative. This is, make no mistake, a hostile takeover, a power grab, him holding his own company hostage. They've used the phrase there that he's the founder of WWE. He might be the killer of WWE, and he is threatened essentially to bankrupt the company unless he comes back, and he is now back. Now, the press release continues saying, quote, "Vince McMahon, in his capacity as controlling shareholder of the company, has removed Joe Ellen Lyons Dillon, Jeffrey R. Speed, and Alan M. Wexler from the board. Vince McMahon, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson have been added to the board to fill the resulting vacancies. The board currently consists of Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, Steve Koonin, Michelle McKenna, Steve Pammon, George Barrios, Michelle Wilson." Now, this is a really interesting line to finish off this press release by WWE today, confirming the return of McMahon. And it says, quote, "Ignacy Lahoud and Manjit Singh have resigned from the board effective today. Now, if those names sound familiar, then they should, because that's very, very, very important. Sean Rossap of Fightful has tweeted, quote, Ignacy Lahoud and Manjit Singh have resigned from the WWE Board of Directors as of today. Manjit Singh was the leading investigator on the Vince McMahon investigation internally. So, what we are seeing here is not necessarily Vince McMahon firing them, but the person that was actively investigating Vince McMahon, investigating the allegations against him. The reason why Vince McMahon retired in July of last year, because of those hush money payments, because of those sexual misconduct allegations, the guy that was spearheading the investigation and probably knows more about the details surrounding the allegations more than anyone else, he has resigned today, basically drawing his line in the sand, putting his foot down, saying it's unacceptable that McMahon is able to return to the company at a time in which they're still being actively investigated at a government level, at a federal level, possibly in the future at a criminal level. Vince McMahon filed these papers today with these SEC papers, but at the same time, they're still investigating the company. Whilst the internal investigation into Vince McMahon's conduct has concluded, there are other still active investigations, and according to the WWE Board of Directors themselves, in those emails released earlier today, there are still allegations that haven't been made public right now. And WWE's Board of Directors' concern is that with McMahon returning to the company, an increased awareness and an increased spotlight on the company will lead to these allegations coming out. Most likely from the board of directors themselves, those that are anti-McMahon, leaking them to the Wall Street Journal as before. So essentially, this is only just getting started. The drama is only just beginning. Now, when it comes from an internal reaction in terms of employees, not talent, but employees inside Titan Towers, WWE sent word to their employees this morning that there will be a, quote, all hands on deck meeting later this afternoon, commencing at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, it's Vince McMahon related. Now, that was first reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider, but there's now an update from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, who's kind of been all over the business side of things, the numbers side of things, certainly the stock side of things. And he tweeted, quote, WWE co-CEO Stephanie McMahon just sent an email to all employees attaching the latest WWE press release, the same press release that we just read to you, saying, quote, today, WWE announced the return of our founder Vince McMahon to our board of directors and a review of the company's strategic alternatives. Please see attached. It continues saying, quote, Nick, Frank, and I will discuss this exciting opportunity at today's all-employee meeting. See you at 3:30. So every single employee in the company, not necessarily talent, but the employees, again, the key people inside Titan Tower, were sent that press release, and they were also sent that there was going to be an all-hands-on-deck, all-employee meeting at 3:30. It's been speculated by some people within the business, and again, this is just speculation at this point, but it certainly could happen, that Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon would be two more of the required votes to reinstate Vince as chairman. So it sounds like a done deal. He wants to be executive chairman of the company once again. That, of course, is Stephanie McMahon's current role. She's chairwoman and co-CEO of Nick Khan. So by the end of today, we could see a situation, because as of right now, Vince McMahon is only on the board of directors. He doesn't have an official title apart from being the majority shareholder and having the biggest majority voting power within the company. But by the end of today, we could see a situation where he is once again the chairman of the company. Again, that requires votes. That requires a certain amount of votes from WWE's board of directors. We know already he has three. He has himself, he has Michelle Wilson, he has George Barrios. That's why those two were brought back in, for voting support, to get himself back in these specific roles, most notably that he had before, as the chairman, as the CEO, possibly as the head of creative. Now, whilst he has said in his press release that he has no intention, or he doesn't want to tamper or tinker with the current management committee or management structure within WWE, the fact that he's even returning in the first place, the fact that he's changing company bylaws, suggests that he wants full control once more. He wants to go back to the position that he was in July. And this whole process, this whole exploring strategic alternatives, won't even necessarily result in a sale. They could come to a situation whereby Vince McMahon says, I don't like any of the offers, we're not going to sell right now, but at the same time, I'm now still chairman, I'm CEO, I'm head of creative once again. It's a hostile corporate takeover. We could see a situation where 2 board of directors have resigned today. It might be even more. Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, Triple H, their position at the moment, they're up in the air. Vince McMahon can be a very vindictive man, and who knows what their future looks like. Vince McMahon is taking back control of his company, whether the company wants it or not. However, we could see a situation whereby at the moment, yes, the stock price is soaring, but if it goes down or if he jeopardizes a potential sale, we can then see shareholders within the company possibly raise a lawsuit against him. Of course, this was the same group of people. The shareholders had actively written to the board of directors suggesting you need to get in writing, put pen to paper, a commitment from Vince McMahon himself that he will never return in an official capacity to WWE, because if he does, we will sue him based on what he did in the past, i.e. not reporting these hush money payments, not reporting the millions of dollars out of his own pocket, but certainly that benefited WWE in these hush money payments regarding these sexual misconduct allegations. And again, they needed to be documented because they were to the benefit of WWE. They were not reported, and WWE subsequently had to go back and amend years upon years upon years of financial results. They're still being investigated because of that today. And a lot of people, a lot of shareholders, not majority, but minority shareholders are suggesting Vince McMahon returning to the company isn't good for business. While Vince McMahon can suggest it's good for business and he has the best interests in mind for WWE stakeholders and shareholders, realistically, he doesn't. He just wants control. If Vince McMahon sat on the sidelines during a sale process and during these negotiations for television rights and content rights, he'd be in line to make billions of dollars, but he just can't. He has to be in control. Now, in continuation of all of this, Mike Johnson via PW Insider said, quote, Vince is exercising ultimate control. Everyone in WWE is still processing that he did. There have been a lot of people in the company living in denial that this could happen, and seemingly from the emails that we spoke about in today's earlier video, once the internal investigation into Vince McMahon was over around November, Vince McMahon began this plot to return to WWE and once again assume control. And he knew that 2023 was the key year because the television right, the content right negotiations were coming up, and he knew that was the key time for him to get involved, and ultimately he could veto any negotiations, he could veto any new deals, he could veto a sale of the company, therefore effectively bankrupting the company. So he held his own company hostage to ransom to ensure that he's returned. He has now returned, not in the same capacity yet, he's just on the board of directors, although that could be an ever-evolving and fluid situation. Now, when it comes to a possible takeover, of course, people are starting to focus on the stock, and in fairness, the stock is up in a big way, as would be expected with Vince McMahon saying he's going to sell the company. After news broke on Thursday, January 5th, that Vince McMahon is returning to WWE as the executive chairman of the board, the company's stock is currently on the uptrend in a massive, massive way. At the time of recording, WWE stock currently sits at a share price of $88.40, which is up 22% from the previous day. Again, massive numbers when it comes to Wall Street trading. This is the highest price that the shares have been since April 2019, where at one point the price was $96.71. They were nearly a company that had a $100 share price, which is massive. That's on the level of Disney and other major companies. From that point until mid-October 2020, the stock price gradually decreased, primarily due to the market crash that happened as a result of COVID-19, but there were other mitigating factors in there. Controversy regarding the Saudi deal made it tank as well. There were other things that basically led to that stock price declining, but majorly it was because of the pandemic. The price of the company's stock has mostly been on an upswing since that point. Again, over the last several months since Vince McMahon's retirement in July, it's been steadily rising due to a feeling the company was going to be sold, but also due to an optimism surrounding the product and an optimism and boost in morale surrounding the company. Something that the board of directors actively said to Vince McMahon in one of their emails, saying that things are going good. The stock price is going up. We're making you money. You don't need to come back. We don't want you to come back. As I mentioned, though, McMahon's return to WWE was officially announced this morning in a press release put out by the company. As a result, McMahon, along with George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, are once again members of the company's board. Ignacy Lahoud and Manjit Singh, however, resigned from the company. As I mentioned, there is going to be this employee meeting. Obviously, the fallout of that, one would think, will become available online fairly quickly, so if need be, we can cover that later on today. As I mentioned, though, when it comes to the stock price and this discussion of a sale, an investment firm, MKM Partners, believe that Comcast, who owns NBC, will ultimately end up buying WWE. Of course, they're pretty much already bought into WWE significantly anyway, with them hosting the Monday Night Raw on the USA Network, NBC Universal, of course, the WWE Network's on Peacock as well. So there has been a feeling for a while that certainly we could see a situation where Comcast have their hand raised in victory when it comes to purchasing WWE. Analyst Eric Handler, who has a buy rating and a 90% and a $90 share price target on WWE stock, noted that the sports entertainment company would be a, quote, very attractive asset for a number of buyers, including Comcast, Fox, Walt Disney, Amazon, and even Netflix. He wrote in a note to clients, quote, "In our view, there is a scarcity of independent content creators that can match the global popularity and size of WWE. As I mentioned, WWE has existing partnerships with Comcast and Fox, and its Raw program airs on NBC Universal's USA Network, and SmackDown airs on Fox. Its premium live events, formerly known as pay-per-view, they also air on Comcast Peacock streaming service. So there is already certainly a relationship there that could result in McMahon selling to the company. But again, the speculation is that if Vince McMahon sells the company to a Comcast, he may put in a provision suggesting that I will sell the company to you, but only under the proviso that I remain the chairman or chief operating officer, whatever that role may be, the person that's in charge of the company. As long as I'm around, I'm alive, I'm still in control, but you can own the company. Again, it's a power grab by Vince McMahon. Again, there is this employee meeting coming out later today. There are going to be developments coming from that. There might even be an announcement later tonight that Vince McMahon is now back to being the CEO. I mean, I don't know. At this stage, we don't know. This is all happening very, very quickly. Again, the announcement was made yesterday. It took a lot of people by surprise. People didn't really know what was going on. Apart from the real inner circle within WWE, within Vince McMahon, they're the ones that only knew what was going on. I think even the board of directors realistically didn't think McMahon was going to do it. They thought that they had a good hand. I would suggest, and this is just speculation on my part at this point, that get ready for more allegations to see the light. That's what basically the board of directors threatened Vince McMahon with in one of those emails, suggesting that more information hasn't been put out there. But at this stage, it almost doesn't matter because Vince McMahon is back within the company, and he's already, this is the key thing too, he's already changed company bylaws saying that any negotiations regarding a company sale or content rights negotiations, they have to go through him. And if they have to go through him, he's always now going to be involved. He's changed those bylaws. So this is a real significant story. Again, it's always developing. It's always changing. It feels like every time I sit down to record something, new information comes out. So if and when, frankly, new information comes out later on this evening, we'll talk about it here on the channel. Of course, you forget as well, there's a television taping tonight as well. SmackDown's going to be live on Fox. Now, for the talent, you would assume it's probably going to be business as usual. This is probably way above their pay grade. But what does it mean for future planning for WWE? What does it mean? I think for Triple H, again, as head of creative, you would say continue as per usual. But at the same time, there's going to be this lingering thought in your head of, am I even going to be in a job in a month's time or in a couple months' time as we're heading towards the Royal Rumble, as we're heading towards WrestleMania? Come WrestleMania, am I even going to be making the decisions as to who wins and who loses and writing the storylines? Or am I, because I happen to dare steer the ship and be part of the management team within WWE, am I going to be let go? Nobody knows what's going on right now, and frankly, it's a really unpredictable and strange situation. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and I'm sure I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.